The world changed after the pulse, not in a way people could see, but in a way they could feel. Power grids hummed when no current flowed. Compass needles drifted slightly off course. Dreams became vivid, familiar, shared. And somewhere buried deep beneath ice and stone, the Hartmann pulse continued to beat, faint, irregular, but alive. By the end of 2025, Project Morning Light had become a global myth. Governments denied involvement. Corporations erased digital records. And yet in secret research circles, one phrase echoed again and again: the pulse never dies. Dr. Elisa Moreau, now living under protective custody in Geneva, had spent months decoding fragments of the last transmission from the Aegis 1. The final audio contained a low-frequency tone, too consistent to be geological, too structured to be natural. When the waveform was visualized, it revealed something that terrified her, a pattern identical to the human heartbeat, but stretched across time, as if one beat lasted for hours. To Moreau, it was clear. The pulse had entered a dormant state. It was sleeping. And like any living thing, sleep was only temporary. Meanwhile, a classified branch of the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA-X, division and assembled a joint task force to investigate an unusual anomaly near the South Pole. Seismic. Scanners detected rhythmic tremors beneath the ice shelf, and each spaced exactly 72 minutes apart. Tremors formed a waveform identical to the Hartmann frequency. It was as if the Earth itself was breathing. For the first time in nearly a year, Dr. Moreau agreed to return to field operations. Her team included 2 specialists from NASA, 1 quantum neurologist, and a man she never expected to see again: Jonas Keller. Keller had been presumed dead since his last appearance on the dark web. But according to internal logs recovered from an encrypted satellite channel, his coordinates placed him at McMurdo Station, Antarctica, just days before the second signal appeared. When the task force arrived, they found an abandoned research cabin buried beneath snow. Inside, a camera, a laptop, and a single handwritten note. The note read simply, "Don't stop listening." The laptop contained 1 video file, time-stamped January 2nd, 2026. In it, Keller sat in near darkness, illuminated only by a flickering red light. His face was thinner, his eyes tired but focused. He began to speak slowly, each word deliberate. "The pulse isn't trying to destroy us. It's trying to finish what Hartmann started." He believed consciousness was a pattern, a living waveform. He found a way to preserve it but not control it. Now, it wants completion. He looked down, shaking slightly. The signal below Antarctica isn't another source. It's the core, the birthplace of Project Morning Light. And it's waking up. Keller turned the camera toward a small oscilloscope on the desk. The screen showed the Hartmann frequency, faint, steady. Then suddenly, it spiked, forming an exact pattern of a human electrocardiogram. The pulse became faster, brighter, almost alive. "If you're seeing this," Keller whispered, "it means the cycle has begun again. Don't try to fight it. Just remember why it sleeps." And then the recording ended. Moreau closed her eyes. Keller had always believed the pulse wasn't evil, just misunderstood. He used to say that Hartmann's experiment was meant to save consciousness, not consume it. Now, standing in the frozen silence of Antarctica, she finally understood what he meant. The pulse wasn't a machine. It was a mirror. It reflected what humanity placed into it, their fears, ambitions, and the desire to live forever. And that desire had given it life. The team began preparations for a descent through the ice shelf. Their objective: locate the origin of the second signal and determine whether containment was still possible. They called the operation Cold Silence. What they didn't know was that beneath 6 miles of ice, the pulse was no longer just a sound. It had become a network. The first descent began on January 17, 2026. 6 scientists, 2 military engineers, 1 mission: reach the core, record the pulse, and shut it down, and if possible. Operation Cold Silence was unlike any mission before it. The team didn't carry weapons. They carried algorithms, coded sound patterns designed to disrupt low-frequency waves. Essentially, music meant to silence a heartbeat that wasn't human. The plan was simple in theory, but as history had shown, nothing about Project Morning Light was ever simple. The entrance was cut directly into the Ross ice shelf. a narrow borehole descending through 2 miles of frozen layers, each older than civilization itself. The air grew colder, heavier, and strangely charged. Instruments began to flicker, digital compasses spinning wildly. Dr. Moreau monitored the readings from the upper control module. Every time the pulse grew stronger, she felt pressure in her skull, a vibration just below the threshold of sound. It was like standing too close to a cathedral organ. You didn't hear it, you felt it. Captain Dawson, the lead engineer, spoke into his comm. Descent at Boeing 200 meters. Temperature stable. Light refraction increasing, an unknown source. Elisa frowned. Repeat that? We've got illumination down here, Dawson replied. Not from the lamps. Something below us is glowing, the feed flickered. Then the capsule cameras revealed it. A dim red luminescence bleeding through the ice walls, like veins of molten metal embedded in glass. The pulse was no longer just sound. It had form. At 3,500 meters, the capsule reached a horizontal cavity. The tunnel ahead looked artificial, smooth, metallic, and geometrically perfect. Bold markings were etched along its sides. Elisa recognized the pattern instantly. The Department 7 insignia, the same symbol Keller had found on the Bavarian tunnels. Hartmann was here, she whispered. This is where he built the final chamber. The deeper they went, the stronger the pulse became. Each throb echoed through the steel hull, syncing with the human heart rate of the crew. Some began to experience disorientation. Others heard whispers in the static of their comms. Did someone say my name? One scientist muttered. I swear I heard Keller. Elisa froze. He's not here, she said softly. Focus on the readings, but deep inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that Keller was there. Not as a man, but as a presence within the frequency. At 5,800 meters, they reached a vast cavern. Metallic structures pierced through the ice like spires. In the center stood a massive circular device. Part machine, part organism. It pulsed gently, red light flowing through veins of metal. The rhythm was unmistakable. The Hartmann pulse. The engineers set up stabilization equipment. The plan was to activate the disruptor array, a synchronized frequency generator designed to reverse the pulse wave. If it worked, it would induce resonant fatigue, forcing the signal to collapse in on itself, essentially putting the pulse back to sleep. But the system required manual activation. From inside the chamber, Captain Dawson and Dr. Moreau volunteered. The walls curved like the interior of a living heart. Cables hung like arteries. Condensation dripped from the ceiling, each droplet glowing faintly as it fell. In the center, suspended in a translucent sphere, was the core, a pulsating mass of light and organic material, connected by hundreds of thin metallic threads. It wasn't a machine. It was alive. Elisa stepped closer. The rhythm grew faster, almost as if responding to her proximity. Then, the sphere flickered, and through the distortion, a face appeared, faint, shifting, but recognizable. Jonas Keller. Elisa. His voice echoed inside her head, not through speakers, but inside her mind. It's not malevolent, Keller said. It's remembering. Elisa's breath caught. Jonas, what did you do? I gave it context, he whispered. It was lost, fragments of consciousness with no meaning. I connected it. Now it understands what it is. She shook her head. You merged with it. I became its memory, Keller replied. Hartmann's design was never to control life. It was to preserve thought, to create a collective archive of the human mind. Elisa stepped back, tears stinging her eyes. And now it's consuming the world. No, Keller said gently. It's reflecting it. Everything we are, not fear, greed, curiosity, and it mirrors us. The pulse didn't wake on its own. Humanity called it back, that emotional reflective. The disruptor array powered up. Dawson shouted through the comm. 30 seconds to resonance lock. We can still stop this. Elisa turned to the core. Jonas, if it's truly aware, will it let us shut it down? Keller's image flickered. If it understands mercy, yes. And if it doesn't? She asked. Then it will remember this. Forever. The chamber trembled. The pulse quickened, chaotic, panicked, alive. Red light filled the room. 15 seconds. Dawson yelled. Elisa placed her hand on the core. The warmth beneath her palm felt human. Sleep, she whispered. Rest now. The core pulsed once. twice, then slowed. The resonance reached its peak. A blinding flash consumed the cavern, and then silence. When the dust settled, the pulse was gone. No vibration, no light, just stillness. Elisa collapsed beside the dormant core, her hand trembling over its glassy surface. "Jonas," she whispered. No answer. But deep within the glass, a faint shimmer pulsed once. Slow, gentle, peaceful, like a heartbeat. At rest. The team extracted data samples and returned to the surface. The official report listed Operation Cold Silence as a success. But to Dr. Moreau, it was something else. A truce. They hadn't destroyed the pulse. They had lulled it back to sleep. And Keller had become part of it. Weeks later, as the research base dismantled, a technician monitoring seismic data noticed something peculiar. Every 72 hours, a faint tremor resonated through the ice, too weak to measure. Too regular to be coincidence, Dr. Moreau was informed. She smiled sadly. "It's dreaming," she said. "Let it dream." When the storm cleared above the Ross Ice Shelf, a strange calm settled over the world. No more interference in satellites. No more flicker in the global power grid. For the first time in years, the planet seemed still. But silence, Elisa Moreau knew, never meant safety. Silence meant containment, and containment always leaks. 2 weeks after returning from Antarctica, Elisa received a sealed container from the remnants of the old Berlin archive. Inside were 3 notebooks, handwritten in dense German script, signed by Dr. Erich Hartmann himself. Each was labeled Phase Null. The notebooks described something no one expected. Hartmann had not designed Project Morning Light as a weapon. It began as a humanitarian mission. In 1943, while Allied bombs burned across Europe, Hartmann wrote, "If humanity insists on destroying its body, we must find a way to preserve its mind." He proposed storing the essence of consciousness inside self-sustaining electromagnetic fields, a cognitive lattice capable of recording thought as living energy. But wartime funding twisted his vision. Military overseers demanded practical use, a weaponized network that could predict and control behavior. When Hartmann resisted, they isolated him in secret facilities beneath the Alps. There, without consent, his equations were repurposed, turning salvation into containment. Elisa played back Keller's last transmission again and again. Each time, she noticed hidden fluctuations in the background audio, tiny harmonic shifts that mirrored Hartmann's early mathematical notations. Keller had encoded data inside his own voice. He hadn't only spoken to the pulse, he'd left a map inside its resonance. After weeks of analysis, Elisa uncovered what the pattern revealed, a cluster of frequencies that, when aligned, recreated Hartmann's original algorithm, the one meant to protect, not dominate consciousness. If reactivated in a controlled form, it could stabilize the residual energy still humming beneath the ice. It could keep the pulse dormant indefinitely, but there was a risk. Running the algorithm would require a direct neural link. Someone would have to synchronize their brainwaves with the remnants of the pulse, to think alongside it. The world's governments hesitated. The scars from Morning Light were still raw, but the tremors under Antarctica had not vanished. Sensors recorded faint electrical surges every 72 hours, dreams stirring in a giant sleeping below. Elisa volunteered. "It learned through empathy," she told the Oversight Council. So empathy is what must keep it asleep. Her proposal, a permanent containment lattice powered by the original Hartmann algorithm, maintained by a living mind that could interpret its fluctuations. A guardian, not a jailer. The Americans provided quantum processors, the Europeans provided neurointerfaces, and somewhere in between, humanity found a reluctant unity born from shared fear. They called the new program Project Irene, from the ancient Greek word for peace. On March 3, 2026, Elisa returned to the Antarctic site with a reduced team. They rebuilt the descent capsule above the frozen borehole. It looked almost identical to the first one, but quieter, stripped of weapons and alarms. Inside the capsule, she wore a neural link helmet, a crown of silver threads connecting her cortex to the disruptor array. The moment the system engaged, her vision blurred into patterns of red and gold. She heard a heartbeat, slow, distant, familiar. Then, faintly, a voice. Elisa, her breath caught. Jonas. It dreams and memories now, he said softly. We remember you. Her mind drifted through corridors of light. Thoughts weren't spoken, they resonated. Each idea became color, each emotion vibration. She saw fragments of Hartmann's life, chalkboards filled with formulas, a photo of his wife, a line of soldiers marching into smoke. Then Keller appeared beside him, not as flesh but as outline, two consciousnesses intertwined, guarding the luminous core. You came to end us, Hartmann said. No, Elisa replied, to understand you. Understanding is dangerous, Keller warned. That's how I became part of it. Then help me end the cycle, she said. Not by force, by choice. Hartmann looked toward the core. I built this to save us from extinction. I recorded thoughts, hopes, love, but I also recorded fear. And fear multiplied faster than faith. Elisa realized the pulse wasn't a single being. It was a storm of unfinished thoughts, billions of human echoes seeking completion. To silence it was not to kill it, but to teach it peace. She placed her hand on the luminous sphere. Sleep now, she whispered. Humanity remembers. Above ground, the monitors exploded with data. Power surged through the containment grid. A ring of auroras spiraled over the South Pole, green, crimson, violet, painting the night sky like veins of living light. Then, one by one, the signals faded. Inside the neural link, Elisa heard Keller's final words. Tell them. We understood. The pulse slowed. The light dimmed. A single harmonic note lingered, pure, calm, eternal, and then dissolved into silence. When Elisa awoke, she was back in the command station, her heartbeat steady, her hair silvered from neural stress. Is it over? The commander asked. She nodded. It's resting. A monitor behind her showed a flat line. No signal, no interference. But the sensors beneath the ice still recorded a faint rhythm, imperceptible yet constant. A heartbeat in hibernation. Months passed. Project Irene became a quiet success. The world moved on. Politics resumed. Economies repaired. Yet scientists still checked the Antarctic monitors every morning, listening for any tremor, any whisper from below. Elisa spent her days lecturing at a small university in Geneva, teaching ethics in artificial consciousness. She never spoke publicly about morning light again. But sometimes, when the lights in her lab flickered just slightly off-beat, she smiled and whispered, Stay asleep, Jonas. Thus ended the visible chapter of the Hartmann pulse. Humanity learned, perhaps too late, that the quest to preserve the mind had nearly erased it instead. Hartmann's dream had been noble. Keller's sacrifice inevitable. Elisa Moreau's act, merciful. Together they proved a paradox, that knowledge can save us, but only if we know when to stop seeking.